space can prove to be quite a daunting task when you first look at it. But by breaking it down into several different points and visits, it can seem to be much more realistic and not so overwhelming. I chose to analyze a coffee shop on campus called Common Grounds. I wanted to do this so I could grasp a better understanding of the place as a whole. And to do this, I broke it down into three different main visits with one specific thing for each visit that I wanted to gain. I think that this was really beneficial for me because it was less overwhelming and I had a fresh mind whenever I was looking at these different things. So, for my first visit, I looked at the decorations of the space. I took in the furniture, the wall color, the bricklaying behind the cash register, and I wanted to gather all this information and really get into the mind of an interior designer and see why they put these things the places that they did, because they affect customers and they affect how the customers feel in that space. On my second visit, I took in the lighting, the music, and the aroma. This really gave an overall ambiance of the space. And while these three things are very overlooked and you don't really notice them when you go in there, they play such a huge role on your mood and the way you feel when you're in this space that you have to look at them to better understand the place as a whole. On my third visit, I took in how the space made me personally feel, and I got my own personal testimony about why I wanted to spend time there. I also found two other people to interview. That leads me into my next point of personal interviews. I originally wanted to interview the owner or a cashier or someone that worked there. I decided against this because I wanted to interview people that wanted to be there. They didn't have to be there. So, before I interviewed the two people that I chose, I wrote down a list of questions or main points that I wanted to gain from my interviews with them. That way I stayed on track and I really gained what I needed for my essay. And I really just wanted to have a plan, so I really focused on what I needed. For my first interview, I interviewed a student athlete, and it was someone I really wanted to understand why they didn't spend time at the library or at a friend's house or in their dorm studying, and why they chose that space. And he really told me that he goes there because it's so easy for him to focus in and not be concerned with the outside world and get his work done. And he said that time seemed to slow down there, which really helped me prove my points of how these different aspects that it had affected our mood and our motivation. For my second interview, I found a lady who owns a monogramming business out of her house. And I think this was a really beneficial interview for me because it wasn't someone that just had to walk down the road from campus to get there. It was someone that drove there because they wanted to be there and they needed to get work done. She went there to get her work done because she found it to be a very motivating space, and that also helped me prove my points of it being motivating. And I really think that my personal testimonies were very relevant, and I think by having a plan before I went into those interviews really helped me stay on track and get what I needed from those interviews. So lastly, I needed to mend all this information together. I personally get very overwhelmed when first looking at things such as speeches or papers, so I needed to break it down into several different simple tasks and little things to piece together to make it seem not so overwhelming for me. I think by doing these separate visits and coming back after each different aspect that I took in and piecing it together with my last stuff, it really helped me to not freak out about it and to really get things done. And I think also by breaking it down into several different visits, I had a fresh mind whenever I was analyzing the different things that I had decided to analyze at different times. And that really helped me to get a better understanding of that thing by itself and not try to be taking in the place as a whole. And that's what I really have to do. And I think that this breaking down technique really works for me. I learned it in high school, and I get really overwhelmed with papers and speeches and stuff, and it's always worked for me, and it's really beneficial for me. So that's how I decided to analyze my coffee shop. Thank you.